Is how long will Americans have a stomach for the impacts of these tariffs before we start to see an erosion politically? There's a lot of uncertainty with the president's approach.
The Mexican government will continue to take decisive action and prevent the auto manufacturing or agricultural industries from taking.
Trump slapped Mexico with tariffs, thinking they'd crawl back, begging for mercy. Instead, Mexico just dropped a $604 million investment bombshell that has American businesses panicking. While Orange Boy was busy tweeting about his perfect deal-making skills, Mexico was quietly building alliances with Canada and preparing a financial counterpunch that nobody saw coming. And now U.S. car factories are scrambling as parts shipments sit in limbo at the border.
So adding tariffs to that levels the playing field. If you didn't, and the cheap imports were allowed to undercut U.S. business sales.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Remember when Trump said Mexico would pay for his wall? Yeah, that went about as well as his attempts at dancing. Now he's throwing a full-blown tariff tantrum, demanding Mexico pay for, well, everything. But Mexico just pulled the biggest Uno reverse card in North American trade history. Trump honestly believed Mexico would roll over like a contestant on The Apprentice hearing those dreaded words, "You're fired." He expected President Lopez Obrador to call him crying, begging for mercy from his mighty 25% tariffs. But instead of panicking, Mexico went quiet, suspiciously quiet, and that should have been Trump's first clue something was up.
This is where the calm and collected approach works, because ultimately Donald Trump might become the boy who cried tariff.
While Trump was busy rage tweeting about his perfect tariff strategy, perfect like his phone call, I'm sure, Mexican officials were jet-setting across Europe and Asia, shaking hands with potential new trade partners. Turns out Mexico had been quietly crafting a $604 million investment initiative specifically designed to tell the U.S. economy, thanks, but we'll see other people.
There is a roller coaster happening with regard to the tariffs. Those 25% tariffs that the president slapped on Canada and Mexico.
The orange turd doesn't get it. Mexico isn't some small business he can bully into bankruptcy. They're our third largest trading partner, and they've got options. Their plan involves finding new buyers for oil, natural gas, and manufactured goods in Europe and Asia. You know, all those countries that don't have a tantrum-prone ex-president threatening them every other day.
President Donald Trump says tariffs in Canada and Mexico could go up in the future. A 25% tariff on some goods from both countries is set.
Here's the delicious irony. Trump thinks he's punishing Mexico, but American refineries are the ones getting hurt. They depend on Mexican crude oil like Trump depends on spray tan. Gulf Coast refineries are specifically designed to process heavy Mexican crude, and replacing it isn't as simple as switching brands of ketchup on your well-done steak. And it gets worse. American auto factories are already experiencing parts shortages because of these tariff threats. Ford, GM, and Chrysler all depend on Mexican-made components. So while Trump's playing tariff chicken, American workers might be facing layoffs because their factories can't get the parts they need. So much for America first, huh?
Very chaotic tariff policy that the president is putting in place and pretending that that will have benefits for American workers and American communities across the country.
Mexico is planning a major announcement at El Zocalo on March 9th, where they'll officially reveal the details of their $604 million strategic investment to reduce dependence on the U.S. market. They're creating new trade relationships faster than Trump creates new scandals. While Trump was busy bragging about making Mexico bend the knee, something unexpected was happening up north. Canada wasn't just watching Mexico's rebellion, they were taking notes and making phone calls. The Maple Leaf and the Eagle have joined forces in what might be the most unexpected alliance since Pineapple decided to crash the pizza party. Trump's brilliant plan to bully his neighbors one by one has backfired spectacularly. Instead of facing two separate opponents, he's created what we might call the North American anti-Trump coalition.
The Mexican government will continue to take decisive action and prevent the auto manufacturing or agricultural industries from taking.
Canada has already slapped 25% tariffs on American goods worth a whopping $30 billion. When you combine that with Mexico's countermeasures, you've got American industries caught in an economic vice, gripped tighter than Trump's pants after a McDonald's binge.
Trump is doing at this point although I think the idea of it is laudable and credible.
Remember when Trump kept whining that Canada is taking advantage of us? Well, now Canadian factories are actively coordinating with Mexican suppliers to create supply chains that bypass the US market entirely. That's like your two best friends deciding to hang out without you because you kept stealing their lunch money. Mexican officials haven't been shy about their strategy either. They've been in direct talks with their Canadian counterparts, plotting a unified response that puts maximum pressure on key US industries.
We don't know how many times he can keep this instability going before hurting his own companies and country, and before people simply stop believing him.
It's like they're sitting at a table saying, you hit him high, I'll hit him low. And American businesses are the ones getting tackled. American farmers are particularly screwed in this scenario. With both Canada and Mexico threatening tariffs on US agricultural products, farmers are caught in a cross-border crossfire. Mexico buys massive amounts of American corn, beef, and dairy. Imagine all those products suddenly costing 25% more in their market. Those MAGA hats might start coming off in farm country real quick.
Is how long will Americans have a stomach for the impacts of these tariffs before we start to see an erosion politically? There's a lot of uncertainty with the president's approach.
The irony of Trump's America First policy is that it's actually pushing America's closest neighbors to work together against US interests. The National Association of Manufacturers and the US Chamber of Commerce are already warning about devastating consequences for American businesses. Even Republican lawmakers from agricultural states are speaking out against Grumpy Trumpy's tariff tantrum, concerned about the impact on their constituents who actually grow things other than conspiracy theories. So Donnie's little tariff tantrum has actually accomplished something truly impressive. He's managed to create a tighter bond between Mexico and Canada than anyone thought possible. The economic experts are saying trade wars are costly, unpredictable, and difficult to control once they begin.
Often threatens tariffs. This time he went through with tariffs, and now we are learning that he is pulling back those tariffs. Let's start with Mexico.
Our situation. Tariffs are an attempt to stop the bleeding from the hemorrhaging of jobs in America for the last 33 years. So,
no kidding. It's like watching a toddler with a flamethrower in a fireworks factory. The real genius of Mexico's move isn't just avoiding Trump's bully tactics. It's exposing the fundamental flaw in his "I'm the greatest deal maker ever" mythology. Because guess what? When you start threatening your neighbors, they don't just roll over. They team up against you. Economic experts are now warning about inflation, supply chain nightmares, and market chaos if this continues.
Well, amid fears of a broader trade war, President Donald Trump delayed some tariffs on Mexico and Canada this week. We're talking about items.
Orange Turd's perfect strategy is backfiring spectacularly. The lesson here? Even if our former president hasn't figured it out yet, the days of bullying your way through international relations are as dead as his natural hairline.